everybody, this is Zoe from No Safer Place, and a few days ago I went to see Night of the Living Dead live at the Pleasance Theatre in London. I wasn't sure what to expect with this. I had seen a lot of mixed reviews and I wasn't sure if it was going to be my kind of thing. I'm a huge fan of horror, but it is extremely hard to find things that I find funny. I have a very strange sense of humour, I guess. So I really wasn't sure what to expect. As I say, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews, some saying that it completely missed the mark with the humour. So to say I was sceptical going into it would be an understatement, but I was really excited because it did look amazing. I'm a huge fan of the film. So I tried to go into it with a neutral mind as possible, which I do everything, to be honest. I feel like just because something isn't one reviewer's cup of tea doesn't mean that it's not another's. I think theatre is so subjective like that, like more so than anything else. So I picked up this programme. This was only £3, which I thought was amazing. I'm used to spending like £10 now on programmes, so this was a real bargain. So if you don't know what the theatre's like, there is essentially 4 zones, and the first zone is actually on the stage, which is called the premium splatter zone. So you sit on stage with the actors whilst the performance is taking place. And then there's band A, which is right at the front, which is also called the splatter zone because you could be getting covered in guts and gore. And then there was zone B, which is where I was sitting, which is the supposedly safe zone. And then there's band D, which is probably safe, I think it's called, and that's just on the balcony at the sides of the stage, just slightly above it. So we originally were in band B, in the supposedly safe zone, but we got there and it was extremely quiet. Now, I'd heard that the Wednesday matinees were the quietest of all of the days. That's why I chose to go then. And I'd say there was only about 30 people there, which I thought would kind of hinder the performance, but it really made it amazing. It meant that we were so much closer. We did get offered premium seats on the stage for free, but I really didn't want to do that, so I sat in zone A. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th row because I didn't want to be too close because I didn't want to get splattered in blood. I will show some photos of how close we were, what the set looked like. The set I will speak about a bit later on was just one of the greatest sets I have ever seen. So as I say, the play is obviously based on the cult classic Night of the Living Dead. Before I'd seen any reviews, I was really unsure of what to expect or how well that it would translate on stage. I feel like this play is kind of like Marmite. You either absolutely love it or absolutely hate it. I think you have to have a certain kind of humour and a certain kind of wanting to get immersed and have a lot of fun to enjoy this. But as I say, it was really quiet, and I think it was quiet because it's a matinee, and I don't think people would necessarily want to see a matinee of a horror show in the middle of the week. I just feel like an evening show would give you that much more atmosphere, and yeah, I feel like that was why it was quiet. So the story is based in 1968 in America in a post-apocalyptic world. I'm sure you all know the story of Night of the Living Dead. It's set in a world where ghouls, aka zombies, have kind of taken over and are causing chaos and everyone is dying. The usual kind of apocalyptic scenario. So a group of misfits are holed up in some kind of farmhouse, I would say, and they can't decide on the best method for survival. They are all so different. They all have completely different agendas, different outlooks on life, and they just cannot agree on anything. And the play kind of has a funny twist on do-overs, and there's a lot of what if scenarios that are played out. So what if we followed this person's idea? What if we followed this person's idea? And kind of how it would end up, if they would survive, if they wouldn't. So that's how it was. The first half was a lot more jump scare and the more traditional horror that we know, but the second half was when all the do-overs started and we saw many different scenarios played out, and that was a lot more slapstick humour. That was much more funny, much more light-hearted, and a lot more immersive for the audience. I found I went with my godmum and she much preferred the second half to the first, but because I'm such a massive horror fan, I just loved both, but for completely different reasons. The second half almost just completely takes the piss out of the first half, which I thought was really funny. So all of these scenarios, some end with shock, some end with surprise, some end with death, some end with musical numbers, which was completely unexpected. So there's a lot of expect the unexpected whilst watching this, because how they all plan out is not how you think they would pan out at all. I'm not going to say much more about the plot than that. I'm not going to go into whose scenario was who and who survived and who didn't, because that's just massive spoilers, and I think you need to uncover that for yourselves. But it is real old school cheesy horror and old school cheesy humour, which you don't really see a lot nowadays, and that kind of vibe worked so well with the set. Let's talk about the set. It's just nothing like I've ever seen before. So obviously it's set in 1968. So things were still in black and white, and that is kind of depicted on the stage. All of the characters have a certain style of makeup on to make it look like you're watching a black and white film. There's a few scenes where it's behind this kind of white screen, and it literally looks like you're watching a black and white television show. It is that good. Like, there's a scene in a graveyard at the beginning, and that was literally like watching a black and white film. It was incredible how it was done. And then when they come out onto the actual stage, again, they have this makeup on which gives them this real grayscale look, which just works so well. I cannot get over how good the lighting and makeup and costumes must be to make this so believable. Staging, the lighting, the makeup, everything about that is absolutely impeccable. I just didn't know it was possible to make this like black and white hue on the stage, and just it works so well with the time era and the piece that they're performing. Yeah, it just works amazingly, and I feel like even if horror's not your thing, just going to experience that is worth it alone, because as a theatre lover, I've never seen anything like it. So the play was about 2 hours long, possibly slightly less, like an hour and 50 minutes, and there was a 20-minute interval. It definitely gets sillier and funnier and more bizarre and crazy as it goes on, but I feel like it works. There are a lot of characters that play multiple characters, and I'd seen a few reviews saying that that got confusing, but I don't know what they were watching, but it wasn't confusing at all. A lot of the humour was really played on the fact that they played multiple roles, and there was a lot of moments where they didn't get changed in time, and they made jokes about why a certain character wasn't around when the other role that the actor plays of that character is on stage. It was all just really tongue-in-cheek and really funny. I loved that part of it. I can understand why some people wouldn't. I wouldn't say it was confusing, but again, if that's not your kind of humour, I can understand why you wouldn't find it funny, I guess. I mean, you would be pretty boring because it is a whole lot of fun, but you know. So let's talk a little bit about the characters. Ben was my absolute favourite. Ashley Samuels, I feel like I've seen him in something before. I looked through his like theatre credits and I haven't seen him, but he just seemed so familiar to me. But he was fantastic. He played the kind of unassuming hero against the almost anti-hero, I guess, Harry. They were both hilarious, if not a little bit unhinged, especially Harry. He definitely had some issues there, which I found really funny. I mean, every cast member is strong, so I feel like I don't want to talk too much about certain individuals because they were all fantastic. Considering it's such a small cast and they're all pretty much on stage, like, all of the time, I don't feel like any of them go off for more than a few minutes at a time. And what I loved is they definitely play up to the typical horror stereotypes. So if you're used to horror, you will always know that there's a damsel in distress, the unassuming hero, the bit of a dick, the mumsy one. You have all of those stereotypes in this, and the fact that they over dramatize them so much made it even funnier. Jennifer Harding, who plays Helen/Judy, is literally one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She just is stunning. It doesn't really have any relevance to this review, but yeah, she is so pretty. Weirdly, the negative comments I've seen about this are exactly the reasons why I love it, which I know is very strange, but it is exactly my kind of humour. It is exactly my kind of horror. I must admit there were quite a few really jumpy bits, so if you're prone to screaming when you're scared, I know a few people are, I'd possibly not go and see this. But there was so much energy in this performance. That is one of the things that I love most about it. The energy that every actor gave was just second to none. It was full of fun, it was full of action, it was full of gore. Talking of gore, we were sat in the 4th row and we did not get anything on us. So if you're worried about that, don't be, just sit closer to the front. No one in the first few rows were wearing any kind of protective gear, and I'm pretty sure they all came away fine. The people on the stage, I was so close to accepting the premium tickets. I'm so glad I didn't, because for the first hour I was like, this isn't even too bad, like no one's even got splattered too much, but at the end it's like a bloodbath up there, so I'm glad that I didn't go up there. My hair would have been covered in blood and this video would have been very different today. It is a lot of fun, and I think if you're going to go and see it, go in with an open mind. Expect it to be a lot of good fun, light-hearted, and prepare to laugh a hell of a lot. And that's what I'd say, just go in with an open mind and don't read some of these ridiculous reviews that I've read, because they just weren't true for me. But yeah, it's definitely a Marmite show. I can see how the play has been extended. I would love to go and see it again. This time when I don't make much of an effort and I wear crappy clothes so I can sit on stage and actually be involved in the action, because that would be fantastic. It was also nice to go to a theatre that was so close to home. This is only like 30 minutes on the train for me, so really close, and just everything about it was fantastic. I came away with a huge smile on my face, in such a good mood, and so did my godmum. My godmum is almost 60, I'm 25, and we both absolutely adored it. So this is definitely a big fat hit for me. It is definitely worth going to see. Let me know in the comments if you've been to see it or if you're hoping to see it. I would love to know your thoughts on it. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment, all of that usual stuff. Also, if you like this video, you can turn on the notifications to be notified every time that I upload. It is normally every Tuesday and every Saturday. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you would like to see more of on my channel, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.